Call the meeting to order, and it was properly posted on June 17th. We'll start with the sheriff for roll call.
Tommy Johnson III.
Rick Warren,
Marissa Treat, Carrie Bloomer,
Brian Mon,
Butch Freeman.
Miles Davidson.
Marcy Hoffman for Larry Stein.
and Marcy, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 1st and July 2nd?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any individual consideration on the consent docket? If not, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have a resolution from the court clerk.
I'd like for Rick Buchanan to come up. Doris, if you will stand, please.
Good morning, and this is Doris Covington. So I'm going to read you a resolution here.
Is this the Doris Covington?
This is the famous Doris Covington that has made Rick Warren look like he knew what he was doing.
Good Lord, that's hard.
Yeah, and some others as well.
Yeah.
All right, bear with me as I read through this. Whereas Doris Covington began her public service career with Oklahoma County on July 12, 1999. Whereas Doris has had, if I do my math right, 25 years of professional career here at the Oklahoma County Court Clerk's Office, having served with 3 Oklahoma County Court Clerks, Patricia Presley, Tim Rhodes, and Rick Warren, and is a licensed wedding officiant. So anyone here need to get married, she'll do it after this. Whereas Doris has worked in court files, small claims, divorce, civil counter, criminal counter, finance counter, and finally marriage licenses, passports, counter, and the court clerk's downtown Oklahoma City office, as well as Edmond. Whereas Doris has also worked for the Oklahoma County Court Clerk's Office when there were remote offices in War Acres on Tuesdays, Midwest City on Thursdays. Something I did not know. Whereas Doris has made hundreds of friends, and in her words, met some awesome people and witnessed the growth of many young attorneys when they were interns, then seeing them mature into very fine attorneys in their own practices. That's pretty cool. Whereas before the end of the year, Doris will be moving to Kansas City, Missouri, to spend time with her son and his wife, along with 2 grandchildren. And whereas throughout her many years of dedicated public service, Doris has served the people of Oklahoma County with distinction, dedication, and professionalism. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Oklahoma County Budget Board honors Doris Covington upon her retirement, along with her commitment to public service and her family, by proclaiming July 18th, 2024 as Doris Covington Day in Oklahoma County. We send her our best wishes for continued success in the years to come.
Thank you.
Doris does far more than just marriage license. She does passports. She does 88 different things in that office. Everything that we do upstairs, they do in Edmond. This young lady can do it all without any problem. Here's a copy of your resolution.
Thank you.
One last thing we're going to do that Doris had no idea. Doris is our employee of the month.
Wow.
What earns employee of the month in our office is how you treat your fellow employees, how you treat your customers, how you treat the mere job that you're doing, the expression you have, the actions you carry on, because we have 2 rules in our office. We deal with about 1,500 people a day upstairs, and I can't tell you the number in Edmond. We have two rules. Rule one, the customer's always right, and that comes from Doris. That's some of her actions. Rule two, the customer happens to be wrong, then just revert back to rule one. Because we have the understanding that without the customers, we don't have jobs. And she loves her job. She didn't just come to work. This young lady loved coming to work. She made all the other employees seem to, even when they were having bad days, she was like a breath of fresh air, a sunshine on each and every employee, made them want to be there. Young employees, we'd send up there to train. Doris didn't mind a bit. She'd train them. They might even get a job, and go higher or whatever. It was like she was proud. It was like a child to her. So you are the employee of the month. I'm going to take a picture of this. Here's your copy of it. Here's the resolution that says you're the employee of the month. We're very honored. That will go on the wall upstairs. It'll stay on the wall forever with all the others. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Rick? Could I get us all to take a picture with Doris? Would y'all mind doing that? I mean, 25 years, I think.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Court Clerk, would you like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ma'am, for your service.
Thank you.
Item 37 is to create a new line in the capital projects. This was a request by the engineer for the tower over at the existing jails.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a couple of questions.
Okay?
Stacy here. Stacy, would you mind coming up? I mean, I'm all for checking the tower, but I've got some questions. First of all, we're going to check one tower, correctly?
That's correct.
And I've done a lot of construction work in that area, so I'm understanding the sand. That most of that was built on sand down there. It's an old riverbed.
River Sand.
And so we expect in the future to have to do the others too, right? We'll start with one and move on.
That's pretty likely that'll happen. Actually, about 6 years ago, I had to repair a structural wall in one of those north towers. It was buckling. We successfully repaired that, which is kind of strange after all those years that would happen. And then this same thing that we're looking at now, the cracked concrete, the doors that won't swing. So
I have
there's some
several
settlement.
buildings in that area, a number of buildings, and that happens because that whole area, even the whole new hotel had that issue. But we're going to spend this money, and then we have to because we have to keep the employees safe, the prisoners safe, and everybody safe. So the money has to be spent. But where are we at? Here's my question. I wrote it down.
Well, this is just an initial investigation, and it'll probably lead to maybe some design plans that I'll have to come back and get money for, and then that'll lead to maybe some construction or repair work.
Now, we're getting
So-
ready to build a new jail, and we're going to close the old jail. What's the current plan with the current money on the new jail?
Well, we would like to build 1,800 beds. That's what the commissioners have wanted to do. I don't have enough money to do that.
So what's the current plan?
Probably about 600 beds at best, unless we get a sales tax. And so you'll have two locations.
What are we
Keep
going to
this
do
one
with the
open.
other 900 prisoners?
I think we are way off the agenda.
No,
item
we're going to
here.
repair it. We're going to repair a jail. Why are we spending? We've got to go in there and check and make sure it's safe. But we also got to understand that we're building a new jail, And basically, are we building?
As long as the DA says you
The
can talk
DA's
about
here.
it.
Does this all not go together?
Mr. Hagee is right over here.
Where you at? Does this not all go together? New jail, old jail, money spent on construction?
Oh, wait a minute. Throw
Thank-
that back
thank
in
you.
my lap.
Thank you,
know if
sir.
those words have ever been said by the
I
district attorney's
guarantee,
office.
can we have that in writing? That's what I need right there.
Well, we have it on tape now.
Well, then go
And
ahead.
I'm not
He's-
trying to be facetious. I'm just very concerned here that we've said the old jail is unusable. You cannot keep it. It's bad structure. It's negative, negative, negative.
It's got a lot of
And now all of a
problems.
sudden we're saying we're going to build a 600-bed new jail, but we're going to keep the 12. But what changed on the old jail that made it now so nice?
It's not. I would not like to do this plan. I would like to get a sales tax and build the complete new one so we can close the old one. But we're not having any success getting any partners for the sales tax
Well,
idea.
back to what we're talking about, the repairs to the new jail and this construction project, it could go into multi-millions of dollars to fix that. You could be into it's what I think it is. If it's like the hotel across the street, you could spend $100 million.
Well, I hope it's not that bad.
hope
but
so, too.
Your mind could be going into a direction that could happen. That's why it's so important that you pull together to try to get a sales tax to build the new one completely, everything we need. The city's not going to help you. Their actions speak louder than words. They're not on board. I don't know about the chamber.
We have to do this inspection. There is no, and this is petty money. We have to do it. But it's going to open our eyes because the engineer is going to tell us, and then he may even condemn that until we get it fixed.
Well, this is step one of the long process. Yes.
But we also have a plan. Do we have a plan with new and old jail transfer? What is the plan? It's my question. That's why I think it goes together. The plan should have both jails involved. We got a new jail, we got an old jail. When are we going to get the new jail? Are we going to get rid of the old jail?
That's really still a work in progress. You've got a citizens oversight board that's working through that issue right now. They'll meet Tuesday. Then they make recommendations to the commissioners, and they would like a complete new jail. And so they don't like the hand they've been dealt where they can only build a small jail and have to operate two. They don't like that, but that's the hand they've been
There
dealt.
again, where's that money coming from? Operate two of them? Be about the same money, wouldn't it be?
Be more to operate two.
I mean, it'd be the same money each one. Costs about the same to run. Guys, this is a much bigger picture. Although you think we're getting out of it, we're not, because what we're doing is talking about the same exact thing. You've got a jail we need to inspect that we've been talking about destroying, tearing down. You got the new jail, which is supposed to handle 1,800 prisoners, and now we're saying that probably won't ever happen.
Not with the money I currently have.
Well, and I'm in construction business and in management. If I came to you and you told me you wanted to build a project and I told you I could do it for $260 million, and then later you come back at the other new price, I'd fire your butt.
I didn't pick the 260.
All right. Well, anyway, I just think we need to discuss this a lot further. I'll vote yes on your, but I think this needs a lot of discussion. We need to know where we're going. We're like a vessel without a rudder.
And I would encourage you to attend the citizens oversight meetings. That's where we discuss those things in detail.
All right.
They do make some recommendations sometimes that go up to the commissioner.
All right.
They're also online.
Thank you. I'll start watching.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Yep, that's all you can do.
Okay. Item 38.
Item 38 is a request from our office, and should we move my computer up? I appreciate some of the phone calls that I've received to have some productive conversations about this item. This item was intentionally written in a way for discussion. This item also is set that the amount is not to exceed almost $15 million. So I'm wanting to just kind of answer a few questions up front that I've received over the phone. That was one of them. In June, we as a budget board voted to move $5.5 million from the new jail fund. It is 2080 Capital Projects dash new jail fund is what it's called. We voted to move that 5.5 over to the current jail. At the time, I did express some concerns about process, how we got there, and concerns of taking funds out of a bucket that in 2022, this board voted to create a bucket specifically just for the new jail. So I believe that the intention in 2022 was to say to the public and to each other, we don't have enough money, as Stacy pointed out, but we are going to do our best to try to show to the public and to each other that if we can find funds, we will put it in this bucket and try to not touch it. I understand, in my own home budget, I only have so much money I can spend, right? And I have to figure out where to allocate those dollars. And sometimes you have to tap into your savings. I get that. I'm not saying that it can never, ever, ever be touched, but I think that the intent that was put together when that fund was created, the intent was to say we are going to show to the public, to the taxpayers, to Oklahoma County citizens that we are going to try to build up this savings account specifically for the new jail. That is why when that June meeting was over, I worked with my team to try to figure out how we got to the point that we were pulling $5.5 million out of the new fund jail bucket to the current jail. So as we dug around, we had a lot of very interesting conversations, learned a lot about different processes. I do agree that the majority of our funding discussions that we have up here, I do think the proper places for them to go to BET to be vetted and have deeper conversations. That didn't happen in June, and I wish that it would have. And I know there's some that wish that that would have happened for this question. So I do apologize, but I do also think that we are not super consistent within the county and our processes. And so I'm willing to commit and work together with all of you guys to try to move forward in that direction where items that we vote on and transferring funds, even some of these ARPA ones, which this is unique, it's different than your traditional ARPA, allocations that you guys are doing because this is a revenue replacement or the interest. I do think it's important for us to have open discussions. And I think as Mr. Warren pointed out, we all have this on our plates. This is all a big stress. It keeps us all up at night trying to figure out what we're going to do with the current jail, how we're going to take care of the citizens that are there, and what we're going to do with the new jail and keeping our commitments. So I wanted to bring this back up. I felt that it was appropriate, a month later from the last vote to bring this back up, have a discussion. My recommendation and what I would like to see is that I make a motion to move 5.5 million earmarked, not to move today, because I do believe that there is a cash flow issue, but to commit as a board, because in our June meeting, we did say that we would replace the funds. That was part of that agenda item. We clearly said we would replace those funds. This almost $15 million is something that we didn't know was there. It was kind of a surprise gift, if you will, to go back into the general fund that we could use for projects. So I don't think that we have to do the full almost $15 million. I think that could go, the majority of it could go to BET, have a healthy discussion there on the best place for those funds to go, but that we agree as a board to keep our commitment to earmark 5.5 when appropriate to put back into the new fund so that we do keep our commitment. So with that, I will yield for questions, but I do appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to explain the reason why I did put this on the agenda today.
Just to add, this wasn't an unknown that just came about. Right. This was something that was discussed very early on, and this was a part of our office and myself keeping and honoring our commitment. And it was said that it would go right back to the jail. Yes, ma'am.
I don't disagree with the word that you said, Madam County Clerk, or for that matter, for the sheriff. To me, though, timing becomes very important. I would really rather see this. In fact, the way the item is written is for the BET to study it and then be, as part of the September supplement. That's what I'd like to see for a couple of reasons. One reason is because in September with that supplement's when all of the pop comes together. And that's truthfully, we never know until September how much money we actually have. And we're already by that time 3 years in the fiscal year. But I'd feel more comfortable with that. Again, I don't disagree with a single word you said, and I'll never disagree with the sheriff as long as he's got that. I'll never disagree with the sheriff.
I do appreciate that. And I do agree that it would be good for the BET to discuss it. I do also think that we should keep our commitment and pledge as a board to say we will replace that 5.5 just as those that voted yes in June, which was everyone except for me, pledged to replace that 5.5. And it's going to be very difficult to replace that 5.5. I think this almost $15 million is an appropriate place to look to go ahead and say, let's say BET, we're going to direct you to look at how to spend all these funds, but we are also going to say that in your recommendation that 5.5 is allocated to the new jail. That's what I'm wanting. I would like to make a motion to earmark that the 5.5 in September be allocated to the new jail. The remaining BET can discuss to see what the rest of the recommendation they want to do for the funds. But I think it's important to keep our commitment to Oklahomans.
And this item 38, the last sentence basically says for BET to study how much of the money should be given to the new jail. So the item calls for the BET to study it. I think at this point, that's what we should go for, is exactly what the item says, is to allow BET to study it, look at it, and like you said, come back in September and based on all the facts, make the decision. I think that's the positive way to go.
So I did make a motion.
Let me be sure I understand the motion. So the motion is just to direct the BET during their recommendation process to earmark the $5 million, not to do anything else today.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just for them to, to earmark it, put it in the big package that we're talking about in September.
Yes, sir.
And so nothing else would take place.
Right. No transfers today. All the rest they can look at, discuss, deliberate, come back with any recommendations they see fit. But we will commit and make a public statement that we will put that 5.5 back in, and we have found a revenue source to do so.
Yeah, just to clarify on what you're saying, Butch, the BET can't make any decisions. It's got to be us. So this one here, right? This one here, this motion would actually be earmarking that 5.5 today for it to go into that jail fund budget. Yes, at a September date.
Yes.
But we're earmarking it today. We're making the statement today, and then anything remainder of the 15, which would be
Whatever.
a little short of 10. That's
Right.
that budgeting stuff for you because you like numbers. But BET will decide what to do with that. Recommend what to do with that. You're correct. And my deal has been with the ARPA funds and with the one-time funds. All of these things is I look at it like an airplane. They tell you to put the mask on yourself before you're able to save anybody else. That building's crumbling. This building's crumbling. That building's crumbling. That one over there is crumbling. We've got to start taking care of ourselves, and we need to make that commitment because you're absolutely correct that we've all made the commitment to the jail. We need to make sure that moves forward. We all need to come together and work together to make sure that we actually build what we need and not what we can afford. We're short. It's nobody's fault. We've had record inflation. Everything that has come in, we shouldn't have backed into a number. We backed into a number. We didn't even know what our project scope was at the time. Shouldn't have done that. We should have asked for what we needed and moved forward. But I understand the commitment. I love the commitment. I love making that deal. I've got no problem with putting 5.5 over there. I would like for BET to have that ultimate recommendation to us. Because if we're able to do more than 5.5 even today, or if we have to do less than 5.5 because these structures are crumbling, without doing a deep dive on it yet, I'm not sure that I'm ready to make that commitment yet, because I want to make sure that the mask goes on us so we can save everybody, not just one entity.
I
If
hear
that
what you're
makes
saying.
sense.
I do hear what you're saying. I know that in June, we made the commitment to pay back that fund. And so we have found revenue to be able to do that. And I think we're immediately keeping our commitment to that. Also, nothing is ever really set in stone. So if we get in September and BET comes back and says, hey, we're also going to put in an additional X from the percentage, which I would be very supportive of, that's great. Or if we come back in October and say we have a problem and we cannot survive, that's when you tap into your savings, right? Like that, we all do that. So my motion again stands that we would earmark the 5.5, the September timeframe. BET would evaluate, they would give their recommendations, knowing that that 5.5 is earmarked. And then in September, we can have a discussion and make adjustments as needed. But I think a public statement is important.
Okay, and this may be for Rod, who will turn it, no. But anyway, so your motion then basically would establish the 5 million as a floor. In other words, as they go through the recommendation process, they being the BET, then they're starting with a $5 million floor. Because with this,
They would be starting with whatever the remainder is.
oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
All right. Yeah,
They,
we're saying it
you would
the same
have
thing.
you have almost $15 million. So we would say 5.5 of that 15 would be earmarked to go into the new jail fund. The remainder they can debate, discuss, come back with a recommendation, because as Commissioner Davidson pointed out, we make these final decisions, right? This is a final decision for us. And so while I value BET and I think it serves an incredibly important role, there are times when you go ahead and make decisions as a budget board because they're responsible decisions. And in June, we made a decision without it going to BET.
Understand. For me, Miles, I completely agree with what you're saying. But just from the standpoint of honoring our commitments and what we're accustomed to and what people are accustomed to seeing out of the sheriff's office, when we had these discussions early on, it was our office was going to pull this heavy load and give it back to the county so that it goes to the jail. And so for me, I completely understand what you guys are saying about, take care of ourselves and all the other buildings we have to deal with, but just to honor what we said, my commitment would just be solely that this money goes to the jail.
So I'd like to move my motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Did you vote no?
So, Madam Clerk, I voted no. But the reason I'd rather, if you would have pressed the whole thing to go, I might have been for that, because we need
You can always amend it, Miles.
we need every dime we can do to get to that jail.
I'm all
as-
for the
as
new
we're-
jail. I voted no, but I'm all for the new jail.
Yeah.
But I also think we need to figure out, because this little bit of money based on a $800-900 million project is a drop in a bucket. It
It's-
does take a drop at a time to
It's
fill
not
that bucket.
890.
But we also don't know where the operation money's coming from. We don't know. We don't even have a plan, like I said.
I think
We need
Cassie
a
needs.
direction.
It was a 4-3 with one abstention.
Okay, so the motion did pass.
It failed.
It failed?
So do you care to make another motion, Madam Clerk?
How does it fail 4-3 with one abstention?
Because you have to have 5 to
Five.
pass.
I think we've made our decision today and we'll move
He's
on.
indicated he would change his vote if it was a different motion, so I'm giving you a chance.
All right, let's say a new motion. Let's put all of the funds in there and move it all to its inner jail and have zero discussion of BET. I feel like that's not going to go over, but happy to make the motion.
Cassie, you got that motion? You hit your button, Madam Clerk.
I think that's a 3-5 vote too.
Well, I mean, we're going to go with it.
Just
Commissioner
operating.
Davidson.
No, absolutely.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
This is for all of the money to go to
All the
general.
money to go.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this motion?
All right, so we're taking everything, we're basically making the decision now without realizing how, again, that whole pot, my September pot, I got a problem with that. So, but I
Understand.
also get one vote. I'll be doing it.
Well, it's not gonna move anything till the September supplement.
Well, but you lock it in now.
Well, and as the
And-
chair
and
pointed
that
out,
was the intent. This money wasn't, like I said, a surprise. This was long planned. This was something that was discussed. And it was always determined that when the sheriff's office completes our portion of it, it was going to go back to the county to be used for the jail.
Sheriff, I understand. I still like the September option a lot better. What's going, why not include it in the big package in September when we have the opportunity to look at all the pots? I just feel much more comfortable doing it in September.
and I respect that. I think we're in our voting time.
But what you've also said is that you would never disagree with the sheriff.
Oh, he got you.
You know what? I've got my own, never mind.
Okay, any other discussion? There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Yes, no.
So is that a maybe or an abstention?
No, it's a no.
Oh,
I hit no.
Then it fails, Cassie. Okay.
Thank
Any
you
other
for the
motions on
discussion.
this item before we move to 39?
I would move the original motion.
You want to restate it?
The original motion is to move 5.5 million to earmark it into the new jail, and the remaining go to BET for discussion,
That's the motion.
to revisit. Second? Are you seconding that?
I want to make the motion.
Oh, you're making the motion. I will second it.
Okay. Any discussion again? All in favor? Cassie, you got it? Okay. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Oh.
Marcy, are you?
Why don't we make a motion as to what number 38 originally said, which is we're gonna send it to BET to do the study. That's what it calls for. It says BET to study how much of the money should be given to the jail,
is that your motion?
if any.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Can you state that one more time? Just so we're clear.
As item 38 states, we're gonna send it over to BET to study how much of the money should be given, if any, to the new jail.
And we're not, at this point, then we're not earmarking
We're not
anything.
earmarking anything. We want them to look at it, to evaluate it, see what our needs is, to even see what the project of the new jail is. Because at this point, we don't even know that. We don't know if it's 1 bed, 1,800 beds. We're in the dark.
And I respect all of y'all's positions. Just like I said, we're honoring what we said we were going to do, and I will stick with the whole 14 going to the jail.
And ultimately, when it goes to BET, I mean, I could let it be known. I feel the same way. You know, you and I have worked on this for, well, since the second we got ARPA funds. So I agree. I also agree with Mr. Warren. We are spitting in the ocean. We have a very big ocean to fill, but we're going to need to do as much as we possibly can to do it. And this helps that. But to Mr. Warren's point, we need a much bigger plan.
I think we're going to have this exact same conversation in September. You know, I mean, because today, if we sit here and say we earmark the entirety of the amount which was intended to go there, that same feeling among those that feel that way, I think are going to have that same thought in September. So I'm still slightly confused why we don't just move it over, but I do think it's a good conversation, and I do appreciate the conversation.
Again, I'm just more comfortable with the organized process, which includes and culminates in September,
So the way it's always been done.
the way it's always been done. That's exactly right. And again, it's worked really well in September, and the good news is in September, I don't remember us ever having to take a step back. In other words, by the time we get the final numbers. Now, is that the best process? Well, it'd be nice if we could have the final numbers, but we don't. Change the fiscal year, go to the federal fiscal year, which is 1 October, when we would have all of them, but that's a state issue that we have no control over.
So what I'm hearing in all of this is that we're all committing that anything related to funds being voted on will go to BET first. And if it should come here first, we will push it back to BET, which is what should have happened in June.
I kind of believe that's true. I know you're trying to put words in my mouth.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm trying to get us all to be on the same page and follow the same process in this building.
Okay. So we've got a motion. Mr. Warren?
We have a motion to send it to BET for them to study on how much of the money should be given, if any, to the jail.
Gotcha.
Okay, all in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I vote no too. Okay. Item 39.
Did we finally pass something?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
This is a fund transfer to employee benefits. Is there a motion? I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All
Is
in-
John here? Yes. Can you refresh my memory on what this is? Interfund transfer from general fund cash to employee benefits.
If you remember, we kind of changed the way employee benefits is funded this fiscal year. So instead of doing the monthly employer premiums, we're going to put kind of the appropriations every month through the budget board in chunks. So this is
in your budget.
in our to pay medical claims and employee benefit claims. So this is just a transfer of the appropriations from general fund into employee benefits, and it's just done in chunks monthly.
Okay, so we'll see an item like this every budget board
Correct.
for the rest of the year. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 40 is a transfer of the county clerk lien. Madam Clerk,
That's just it.
you make a motion.
Sure. I make the motion to do
Second.
action of 40.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have the public defender here with us on item 41. Anything you wish to say, madam?
Just that we're seeking the remaining 1.6 of the money we already received. We received 4 months of it already, and so we're just seeking the additional 8 months. That's going into treatment programs for housing, drug testing, the supervision officers, all for the treatment court programs.
And do you have everything you need? Maybe you and I can get together afterwards. Do you have everything you need from Nikki and Kelly and to make sure that this happens after this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to transfer 1.635, 117.33.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any citizens to speak? Any sheriff, any comments?
No comment.
No comments.
Yes, just a couple quick updates. Last budget board meeting in June, we passed out my response letter to the auditor related to ACFR and some of the financial challenges. So if anybody has any questions on that, feel free to call. We have at this point submitted all documents that needed to be submitted. So we are now waiting for the auditor's office to review those. And then once that is complete and everything is tied up, then it will be submitted and Moody's will have it. We have been in communication with Moody's, in constant communication with the auditor's office. And we have some additional support coming from the auditor's office because they now have a kind of a deeper understanding of the situation that we have been in. Yes, sir.
So the Moody's aspect, you have not, you have not sent the final documents to Moody's yet.
No, sir. It cannot go until the auditor has officially signed off on it. And that's the stage that we're at now. I would expect it'll be I'm pushing it out further so that we're not thinking it's tomorrow, but I would say the end of September. And again, the auditor's office has, we're working with her on some additional resources that I think will be helpful. We also have started the ACFR for this year that is due December of 2024, the end of this year. So we have the one that's past due, and then we have the current one started on top of our daily work and our budget and everything else. So unless you have something really important to say to our finance team, they've been locked in trying to do their best to get caught up. And the other update that I have is our office has started the audit with Ernst & Young. I think I've mentioned that to a few of you guys, and it went through the commissioners. That started on Monday. That's a deep dive into our office and our processes and systems. I think that will go great. And my plan during comment time is to try my best to provide just some high-level updates to everybody so everyone kind of knows what's going on. But please call me if you have any questions on any of those items.
Okay, you?
Nothing.
I just want to quickly say, I think I appreciate the discussion about item 38. I think the one thing that did come out from that is we all understand the magnitude of what it's going to take for us all to work together and solve this jail issue. It's going to be a very heavy lift. We've got a lot of money to come up with. Every dime we could get is going to work towards making that end goal smaller. To Mr. Warren's point, I said during the campaign, and I'll say it again today, even if we solve this problem and fully fund this jail, we cannot make the same mistake that they made in the early 90s and not do an operational fund. We'll only wind up exactly back where we are today. That's for maintenance and that's for operations, and that actually solves this issue for multiple decades, not just a couple. So, thank you.
No comment.
Okay, I had moved us on down to the agenda so that I could go ahead and attend a meeting with the public defenders. So at this point, I'll have the vice chair take over with item 32 for the reoccurring items. Jessica will set in for me.
Which item?
Item 32. So we didn't cover our normal reoccurring agenda.
Okay.
So he's
Item 32, so we're getting ready to.
Yeah, good morning. All right, you should all have a handout there in front of you. If you'll turn to page 2 there, I kind of give you an overview of the general fund budget there. As you can see at the bottom there in the reserve, a little highlighted column, that's the remaining balance we have of $738 after the last few transfers have been made. So if you refer to page 3, it gives you a breakdown of what all we have encumbered and also taken out of the general fund there. Kind of, as you see, the last last 2 entries were for juvenile detention, and then on that end there, so which brought us down to $738 reserve balance at the end of June 30. So, and then if you'll turn to page 4, the general fund budget analysis there, cash balance as of June 30th is $33,416,646. And page 5, it'll give you a comparison to a previous fiscal year compared to this current fiscal year. As you can see, for the month of June, on that first little box area for June of this fiscal year, we had 33,416,647, and this time, the previous fiscal year, it was 19,148,153. So, and then on page 6, the employee benefits cash balance at the end of June 30th was $995,032. And then if you turn to page 7, which is the year-to-date medical and RX claims, had a couple discrepancies on the medical and a couple on the previous fiscal year that we are having to go back and do a little research on. It probably has to do with timing of deposits and time claims were paid out. But John can give you a clearer picture on the current status of that. And then on your page 8, on your gives you the same thing, comparison as to where we were in the employee benefits cash balance for this fiscal year compared to the previous fiscal year. And then the last one on page 9, which is a capital project budget detail. Balance in capital project as needed is 290,000, and then the unallocated amount is 341,304. So with that, that is all I have for y'all. If y'all have any questions?
Questions? Your motion?
Okay, thank you.
Motion to receive, but with a cautionary tale, Mr. Treasurer, that your seed corn's a little short this year, so be careful.
Actually, that's not bad, $738. What? Anyway. All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 33. Cody? Cody's
Oh,
gone,
Cody
isn't
is
he?
out at an Esri conference with the assessor's office. He said there is nothing new added to the watch list, so he has no report.
Okay. I don't know that we need a motion on
Yeah.
that. Item 34.
Good morning again. This is the same report I reported at last budget board meeting, same exact report. This shows through the end of last fiscal year, straight from Munis. These are the numbers straight from Munis, what we have. We ended last fiscal year $2 million less in medical claims than we did in fiscal year 22-23, which is positive. Prescription claims, we paid many more weeks of prescription claims. We still ended up 611,000 under compared to the prior fiscal year. So those combined, we ended up $2.7 million under fiscal year 22-23, which is a real positive. If you factor in the reimbursements, of course, we've had less COVID reimbursements because we're having less COVID claims now. And then we had less stop loss reimbursements. So we look down to a net number. That's kind of how we calculate costs. We're about 3% over where we were fiscal year 22-23, and that's just due to the reimbursements, receiving less reimbursements this last fiscal year versus the prior. And then looking forward to July, again, we transferred to UMR for medical claims payer. That process is going good. We've done the implementation. We're seeing claims come through. Our claims are about straight in line as last July. So everything's looking good so far. We're only about 3 or 4 weeks into it, but I'll have a more update on this new fiscal year at next month's budget board.
Questions?
Move to receive.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
John. Item 35. There is a request on the Criminal Justice Authority. Is there anyone here on that? You want to address that?
Yeah, so they're not able to come down today and do this. They are going to be here for the next one, and any questions you have, I can help facilitate, or they've been coming around and speaking with, I know they spoke with Mr. Stein. They actually invited him over to the jail, showed him a bunch of the new stuff. If any of you guys would like to do the same, that offer is open as well. So
I support inviting him over to the jail.
it took a while to get him out. No.
Oh, is this related to them giving updates?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And I have suggested that Chris give regular updates to us, just like we have from John and our team. I think it would be appropriate to just do a quick, not super painful, basic, update, and then deeper questions be one-on-one. Is my recommendation to both Brandy and to others.
Yeah, if anybody's got any recommendations about the item, about what they'd want to see, or
Well-
getting it in the future to the clerk to see what you want to see, so we could, because this is a new item,
Mhm.
clearly we're developing it, so everybody can get their questions in their niche that they
Right.
would like to have answered. I think it's a great, your point to Chris coming over and giving a financial statement about what's going on over there.
I totally agree with that. Remember, the dollars that funds this come through us.
Right.
That's
Well,
our
and I
money.
think as Mr. Warren was pointing out earlier, we're trying to figure out what is the plan, what is happening, how are funds being spent. And really, my recommendation to Brandy has been that they go and present at BET each time BET meets, and then present here as well, and just a regular financial update. Again, not very painful, just a regular financial update I think would be appropriate. But in the BET meetings, you can get a little bit deeper into the weeds there. So I do hope that comes along. And I know the assessor had sent this item to our office, and it was my understanding that he was going to be the one to put the item on the agenda. So we can just clarify what that looks like. But I don't think there's action
Okay.
on this.
No action required. Thank you for the updates, and I do look forward, as both of you mentioned, to having monthly updates to us from the Justice Authority. All right. I think we'd already hit citizens' participation and board comments, didn't we? So is there any new business? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. It's a good meeting, honestly it is, when we get the opportunity to get together, and I see no blood. There was